Yep, the old carpet machine got some leaks. Gonna pull it out of there and see what we can do to stop the leaks. First I'm gonna pull the screen off there to access it. You can see we got a leaky mess. Got a strip of oil is dripping down. It's going down the sides there. It's pretty much all over the place. Looks kind of bad down there. Oil all over the place. You can see the shine on the wires. Everything's oil soaked. Now I'm gonna have to pull this motor out so we can get some parts for it. We're gonna probably need a seals. All the bolts were loose around here, and it started to leak. And we seem to have slowed it down quite a bit by tightening those up, or the rear of the motor where the flywheel is on the other side there. Can't get to the motor from that way, so gonna have to pull it, remove the belts, disconnect the exhaust pipe, and then the 4 bolts and any linkage going from this to the fuel hoses, and anything else that's got it attached to the pressure machine over here that it runs on a crossfire system. There's this side. It's leaking down at the bottom there. I don't know if you can see it, but my little catch the oil trick worked to keep it most of the way off the floor. So we're getting some oil loss. And we're going to stop it. You can see how it's all wet right there on the frame. It's been about 4 years since we replaced this motor. So we're going to try and save this one because it's still running good. Got good compression and everything. It's just got some leaks. So we're going to stop the leaks and see if we can get another 100 thou out of it. Okay, you can see we got the pulleys, the belts out of the way. I don't need to take them all the way off of there, just gonna leave them like that. There's the tensioner. I'm gonna grab the exhaust off of there. Hopefully that'll be simpler than it looks. Alright. I don't want to have to mess with those gaskets if I don't have to. They're pretty new. I think I did something to the exhaust on this too long ago. In any case, we'll see what happens. That's next. Oil up in where that is getting soaking wet. The air filter, apparently you can see light through it like that, but when it gets saturated with oil, it causes suction out of the breather hole for the crankcase, which is that little unit there. That's the crankcase breather. And what it does is what causes that is overfilling these. You got to have the exact right at the full mark, not above the full mark. If it's above the full mark, it's going to create excessive amount of oil pressure, which in turn makes that have a lot of it starts sucking oil or shoving oil up through the. Alright, so the crankcase breather, which is this unit down here, sucks up oil into the air filter, and that's out of that little hose right there, and that saturates the air filter. And what causes this, of course, is filling it too full of oil. Excessive amount of oil pressure. Then the air filter gets soaked, and once the air filter gets soaked, it just starts sucking more and more oil up in there, and it drips all over and goes down, and it appears that the engine's leaking oil everywhere. And this has been disassembled, and you can clearly see the front seal is dry to the bone. The one on the rear seal where the flywheel was at was inspected as well, and it was dry to the bone. There's some, of course, there was some residue, oil residue inside this cover, but that was due to it going through the front and leaking all over the engine. So that's good news. The engine's got good compression. Should be good to go. I'm gonna have to get it installed right there in that van as soon as I'm done reassembling this block. We got it installed. It's all ready to go back in, except for, of course, we need I need some zip ties so I can secure those wires in the back there to keep them nice and neat and out of the way of the exhaust, and of course the oil sending unit down there, and an oil filter. I'm waiting for parts. As soon as the new air filter, oil filter. Now, the sending unit's going to be a little different job because I got to track down the wires and figure out which wire it is that feeds the temperature sending unit. Okay, you can see that's the temp gauge that I got to get working that doesn't work. Just to keep an eye on temperature to make sure that the water pressure temperature that's coming out the hose that feeds the wand is at the proper temperature, doesn't overheat or underheat. And ohm testing the wire. Like I said, this is quite a cluster arrangement of wires going to that one unit. I believe this orange wire here will be the one, but it'll be simple enough to test. Just run an ohm test between this wire and the orange one down there and see if that makes a connectivity. If it does, then more than likely that's the one I'll hook it to. So I'm just waiting for parts now, minor parts, fuel filter, or excuse me, air filter, oil filter, sending unit, water temperature sending unit. So, and then this baby's getting ready to be put back out on the workforce. Hey, got it running.